What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome. Hey, it's Tuesday night, and it's been a busy day. An absolutely insanely busy day. So many cuts, so much information. It just so happens to fall on Hot Take Week. This is an annual thing for us. We're not a player take type show, but we do like to every year give some, I guess, somewhat reasonable hot takes that could kind of happen. So today, that's what we're doing. We're excited to do that. No Ryan Heath today, but joining me is Lucas Gilbert at L Gilbert FF and Jacob Sanderson of Thinking About Thinking and his new Dynasty 101 videos on the Fantasy Points YouTube channel. He's at Jacob Sanderson. Tons of stuff to get through today. No, we're not going to do the fun facts. We're not going to do the long intro. There's just too much information, and we just simply cannot make this 2 hours. Jacob's computer can't handle it. So let's get right into it. What I would like to do is just get a feel and a vibe of the room from the overall takes of the preseason. I'll start with Jacob here. Let's just get a little touch on overall vibe, John Hansen style, for the takes on the preseason.
Yeah, I think I want to encourage everyone to embrace the de-yonkification of the preseason, right? I feel like the way that we all consume preseason content now is we don't watch any of the games. We don't really look at the stats of what they actually did in the box score. We all just look for the usage. And it feels like that's like a very 3 years ago idea, as everyone said, oh, it doesn't actually matter what the box score is in the preseason. It doesn't matter what they look like in the preseason. Focus on who plays with the first team. Focus on who plays with the second team. And I think we took that too far. I think that we've taken that far too far. I think what we should actually be looking at a little bit more, especially when it comes to rookies and young players, is who is playing well in the preseason. Some of the biggest winners from these roster cutdowns strike me as guys who just flat out performed, like a Jordan Mason, who now looks like he's in a really good situation. That's a guy who went out in the preseason, was awesome. Kamani Vidal is another example of a guy where we were worried about, oh, is he on the roster bubble? You know, Jarrett Patterson, all that stuff. And then we see him, Kamani Vidal. I never pronounce his name right. Kamani Vidal, he goes out there, his first chance in the preseason, he looks fantastic, right? And it still took him a little bit of a while before the fantasy market started catching up on him. So that's my take on the preseason is watch the preseason, try to pick out some of the players who look solid, go and add some of those. Do it a little bit the old-fashioned way when it comes to the rookies.
And it's not just that. I feel like we take the usage and we just flip it the way we want to. Because like you said, people are like, oh, who played with the ones? Well, if we cared about that, Polk and Baker would have been dead after week 1 because Osborne was running with the ones and Thornton was running with the ones. And then it comes out 2 weeks later that Polk is actually getting a starting gig. We only cared about running with the ones so long as it met our own criteria. And then we completely ignored it when it didn't fit the criteria we wanted, like Drake Maye. Drake Maye ran with the backups. He looked good, but Drake Maye wasn't the guy running with the ones, but yet he looked the best. He should be starting. Well, if your who ran with the ones theory was that, then you automatically would have said, well, it's not Drake Maye. So we have to stop picking and choosing what matters, in my opinion, in terms of the usage. And then, like you said, we need context with this. Last week with Ryan, I brought the play up. I actually put the video up of Xavier Worthy where, you see the clips on Twitter and he beat 3 Lions. Well, he beat 3 Lions because he got a walking start. 3 Lions stopped and stared at him, watched him run past, and he was wide open. Like, there is context to this. He didn't score his touchdown with Mahomes. He scored his touchdown with Wentz on a quick turnover on a kind of a rub route with no safety help. He should score. Like, there's context involved. The Tyjae Spears, Tony Pollard thing, I know was a big deal. Tony Pollard got all the snaps with the first team. Okay, on the first drive, yeah, of course he did. That's great. Spears got all the snaps except for one, and it was a 4th and 1 design play after he touched the ball 2 or 3 times in a row. They take him out. They run the design play action roll out play that I love for running backs on 4th and 1 to Pollard. Spears went back in. That drive ends on a kind of a piss poor throw by Levis to Ridley in the end zone. And then Spears comes right back out to start the third drive, gets his 2 touches and his 2 snaps. One was a first read target down the sideline on a go route. And then the second one was a screen pass that he, for some reason, guys, stop hurdling, please, for the love of God. And then they immediately took him out, which means they had a snap count for both backs. So, yeah, everything was Tony Pollard. And then, everything was just Tyjae Spears. You know what that told us? The same thing we already knew is that they're splitting reps. So, like, we're victory lapping usage and ignoring Spears usage, because if you like Pollard, you're going to look at that. And if you like Spears, you're going to look at. So you're right. Context and watching the games is actually important, especially with how many people are starting to sit now. This preseason, I feel like people sitting was like more like prevalent than ever, in my opinion. Maybe like I'm off base with that, but I feel like more people sat this year than ever before. Lucas, takes on the preseason. I know we like kind of covered most of it there, but
I mean, it's been fun so far. I mean, y'all are the head, not only right on the head with the hammer, or how everything. It's been a long week. I'm still struggling from jet lag. Like, holy cow!
And I'll come back from Hawaii.
Yeah, man. That nice 7-hour red-eye flight that goes right through the night where you don't sleep a wink, even if you buy the upgraded seat to get just a little bit of extra leg length there. Jacob, you understand what I'm saying there.
I wouldn't know because I'm 5'8" and I don't need extra leg space.
Yeah, and that that doesn't help at all with you trying to actually sleep. So
no,
it is what it is. So I struggle, or I apologize to the audience for struggling. I will get this thing right. But that's I guess how like a lot of players in the preseason kind of feel like too. They're just working things out. You can definitely see though throughout the preseason some of the players progressing and getting to the point that they're handling the speed of the game. It's very easy to say that football, like if you've been playing football your whole life, you shouldn't need like this big large adjustment period, but you can definitely see the players who, as they are both like increasing like the skill level that they're going against, whether they were running with the 3s one week, now they're running with the 2s, running with the 1s, so on and so forth, and who they're going against, you can start to pick up on some of the players that are really embracing the new opportunities, and those who aren't quite living up to the hype. Not to dunk on Joe Milton too much, but after that first preseason game, everybody's like, oh, look, their starting quarterback's going to be their 7th round quarterback. Look at how good he looked against, the 4th and 5th stringers, the players who aren't going to be sticking around for a long time. No offense to those players, but there was a very big gap in skill compared to those that he was going against. And then the one series we had of Drake Maye, we need to calm down a little bit. I think that taking things with context, but also like watching how players are progressing, I think is really, really important. And then also, this has been the preseason of rookie quarterbacks. I'm getting way too hype on them. I need to calm down just a little bit, but it's been fun.
Yeah, like you said, you want to look at things the way you want to look at them, right? Spencer Rattler had, some good flashy moments, and there are people celebrating that he was, I had him as the 4th best rookie quarterback in the class. There shouldn't be a 4-round, like, there should have been the gap. Like, he barely looked better than Jake Haener. Let's pump the brakes a little bit and calm down. All right. Like, I get it. It's exciting, but you really got to be careful when you're consuming content that you're not just getting like victory lap content. Like
we're getting what a boomer. What a boomer.
I know. It's a boomer take, but hey, because of you guys, we're actually doing hot takes. We don't do player takes at all today. That's coming up next. One thing I just wanted to touch on last with this preseason, and especially with today's news in general, my advice to dynasty players is do not overreact to who got cut. Like, Tim Patrick getting cut was kind of a surprise to me, and that does matter because maybe it signals Marvin Mims is actually going to get on the field, and Sean Payton is done, like, I don't know, beating him with a stick, or maybe Troy Franklin's better than they thought, or maybe Tim Patrick's just cooked. I don't know. Apparently, he might be signing with the Lions practice squad. I actually like that pickup for them a lot if they get him. They did cut Donovan Peoples-Jones, but there's some other guys like Frank Gore Jr. He had a nice preseason, but he's going to end up on somebody's taxi squad. Let's not overreact. Like Perine getting cut, we kind of assume that. So let's start looking at being excited or maybe overreacting to who gets signed where. And to me, that is a bigger signal than kind of who's getting cut. Perine could go somewhere and absolutely nuke somebody's upside. We know that. But you should have been drafting kind of seeing the writing on the wall for what players were going to potentially be gone. Perine with one of those. We talked about it on this program. Perine could go to Dallas and be awesome. Perine could go to Kansas City and nerf Pacheco. He could go to a bunch of different places and hurt somebody, but let's not overreact to him getting cut. That's kind of baked in.
On a scale
Dallas
of
cutting
1,
Royce Freeman was notable.
Yes. Cleveland and Foreman.
There's a few. Yeah, so the Cleveland Foreman thing, I think is just kind of shenanigans. It's been reported from a few Cleveland sources that they still might intend to bring him back. His contract was such that they don't need to put him on waivers. They can just cut him and then immediately bring him back if they want to. They keep 4 quarterbacks on their initial 53. And then Kevin Stefanski was asked whether they were only going to keep 2 running backs. And he said it's the initial 53, not the final 53.
That's a good point.
They asked about Deontay Foreman. So I think Foreman winds up back on the Browns. We see teams like do this stuff where they'll manipulate the roster in certain ways.
That's what I'm saying.
But the Freeman thing is interesting. Like maybe they just like Deuce Vaughn or whatever. But
he didn't look good.
That's a spot where it wouldn't surprise me. There's Dalvin Cook's already worked out there.
I've heard the Colts for him, which would be weird.
Yeah, that would be it would be kind of weird for Chris Ballard because usually he doesn't sign guys like that. But like they legitimately do need a second running back. They drop Evan Hall, and Trey Sermon I don't know if he's going to be healthy for week 1. So there's a chance to be only active running back. Yeah, right. Like Trey Sermon sucks, and Tyler Goodson's the reason why the Colts didn't make the playoffs last year because he dropped the ball on 4th and 2.
Poor guy.
They John, as it stands right now, it looks like John's going to play 97% snap rate. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took a look at a Perine. The other guy that I thought popped last year a little bit, and that I kind of liked as a prospect was Chris Rodriguez. He got cut by the Washington Commanders. Not really a household name. I would bet on him to catch somewhere as well. Yeah.
He was a high. If you're a frequent listener of Dynasty Points, I've talked about him plenty last year. Yeah, I love all that. That's why let's not overreact to who got cut. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. I know it's like the first string of news that we've just been craving and dying for, but let's not overreact. Take it easy. Let's watch who gets signed where. Let's see what happens over the next couple of days. I think that's good for the setup. For now,
I need one thing from you, Thomas. On a scale of 1 to we aren't having a show next week. If Samaje Perine goes to New York and starts just ruining all our Tyron Tracy fun that we've been having, where are you on the scale? I need to know.
Well, considering I already feel blessed enough after I thought his leg broke in half, and then he was back at meetings 2 days later, I feel like I've been blessed already. So if Perine went there and ruined it, I just feel like it would have just been carryover from his leg exploding. So I feel like I'm already prepped and primed for his downfall. So I would be back in this seat next week.
I think Perine's going to be looking mostly at good teams. I think here's my stealth call. But maybe Tom can rule this one out. But one team that has not been discussed at all for Samaje Perine. What about the Baltimore Ravens? Keaton Mitchell's apparently nowhere near.
Oh, he's not playing this year.
So he's not really in the cards. Rasheen Ali, from the sounds of it, was potentially
can't hold on to the ball
spot to Owen Wright if Rowan Wright didn't get hurt. So I don't think they really love what they're seeing out of him. That leaves it with just Henry and Justice Hill. And the Ravens love signing old dusty running backs. They do it constantly. That's my stealth landing spot for.
So they love Justice Hill. and they're the type of team that are going to. So this is why I don't see it, because they don't need to pay for his specialty, which is pass catching. They're more likely to sign a Donta Foreman than they are to sign Perine, and they're the type of team that saves their cap for a random pass rusher. Like they got Van Noy at like the start of the year, and he got 9 sacks for them. So, and that team, when I tell you they love Justice Hill, they love him. So I would see Perine back.
They're like weirdly committed to Justice
they love
Hill
him.
being like,
yeah.
Every year, Justice Hill plays like 40% of the snaps for the Ravens and is never fantasy viable.
Yeah, exactly. Paul Patterson, who, if you're not subscribed to Pure Potential, you should be. They're kind of the same player. They are kind of the same player, which is why I just don't see it. I don't see it.
Perrine's like 235 pounds, though.
Yeah, I can see right back to Cincinnati, which would just be nightmare fuel for me.
See, that's the one.
But I see Kansas.
So it makes
to
sense.
me, it's Kansas City, because they're not. I'm sorry to answer this question after Generic Prince got cut today. I'm not picking up a fullback. So like to me, they need a running back. Perine kind of replaces Jet. So that's to me that kind of move. I could see another random team like Chicago for no reason, just signing him to have a 5th running back. But yeah, that's what I mean. Just some random.
Spider-Man meme.
There's always some team that just adds a player off cuts that for no reason. So
I mean, I think the Colts will be in on Perine too. I think that they really need an RB2.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs one, I agree, is like I think actually the most likely outcome.
That's
the Bengals one is interesting to me because like, and I've seen this report out of Bengals. Like, yeah, I mean they could use him, and I'm sure they would take him. In this,
apparently they really like the 2 backs they got.
Right, like. Well, that's just the thing. Like, and
they don't spend.
They don't
money.
have a viable RB. They don't have a viable RB3 in Cincinnati, so like they could use him in the sense that Travion Williams isn't it. But
yeah,
like Zach Moss, like all I've heard of all camp is like Chase Brown is going to be kind of like the lead rusher, but Moss is kind of a specialty player where they can use him as a pass protector and in some short yardage situations. And it's like, well, why would a team like that sign Samaje Perine? Well, probably to use him as like a pass protector and in some short yardage. So to me, like all I've been seeing all over my timeline is like Chase Brown is dead. If they, I don't really know what the overlap is between Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Like obviously, if you have Chase Brown, you would prefer them to sign nobody than sign somebody. But if you're telling me like where's the overlap in skill set between Samaje Perine and the Bengals backfield, it's like entirely the Zach Moss use case is what he does. He pass protects and he's like a big hunk of man.
I like Robert.
What it is.
Right. I like Robert take care. Carolina needs some depth, but Perine just feels like a championship roster addition late off season to just plug and play. That's why I have Kansas City there. But yeah, lots of take. Do we want to touch on the Kyren? We should touch on the Kyren punt return.
Let's do the Kyren punt returner
before we get in. To me, this changes nothing. Like I'm not changing their rotation stuff just because he's returning punts. Like he's gonna really this just means he's gonna fair catch like what 30 extra snaps this year, right? Like come on. Injury risk is a big deal for me, but like they just like his hands, man. Like that's it. To me, that they're just not putting Cooper Kupp back there this year. Like that's the difference. No one was freaking out when Cooper Kupp was having the best but the best wide receiver season ever for fantasy. He was catching fair catches on punts. Like we weren't. Let's not do that either. But to me, this moves the needle exactly 0 for me. What say you guys? Because the internet's going crazy with this.
Kyren Williams returning punts is like kind of hilarious because he's just not who anyone would think of as a punt returner. Like he's like a small, slow running back. Like it's kind of weird that he's a punt, right? Like if the Miami Dolphins were like, we're gonna have Devone Achane as a punt returner, I would be like, well, that's annoying, but I get it. Whereas like to have Kyren Williams as a punt returner is just like a little bit funny. And I think that's part of why people are taking it so negatively. I mean, I've been low on Kyren basically this whole offseason. I think that this is closer to a legitimate split than a lot of people think. I think that I've made this case consistently. It very much might be wrong. I don't think this makes it more likely to be right. But the idea is, people talk about Sean McVay wants one running back And I think to me, that's more about you need to have one running back on a drive, so you're not substituting and you're not tipping plays. I don't think that needs to be the same running back for every single drive all game if you have two guys that are capable of playing on all three downs. So I've been more playing this through the Corum side this year. I'm still more on the Corum side, but I'm not like more sure that I'm right because of this. If anything, if people are going to start panicking over Kyren, and I get a chance to kind of insure against myself being wrong at a cheaper cost with my last few drafts, by all means, like I'm happy to get a little bit of Kyren at the end here because I really don't think it matters that much.
I agree. Like, this is what I'm talking about with, like, let's not freak out. Like, Sean McVay wants sure hands back to return a punt. That's the story. That's it. Again, there's like a little bit of injury risk that could possibly occur here, but it's like he's still gonna get. Yeah, I don't want to freak out. It's too early in the evening for like a full blown Tom freak out moment. So we're gonna, but like, relax, chill out, just breathe deep. Let's not like party and exactly, Lucas, USA, all that stuff, and just chill. Well, get that we have priors that we want to affirm here, but relax. This isn't the news to do it. Break, because we waited too long to do the first one again, and Trey's going to get mad at me, but we're going to get this break in right now, and then when we come back, hot take episode. This is one of my favorite ones, so sit tight. We'll be right back. I miss Billy's snap. I still miss that. Also, speaking of Billy, can we pour one out for Billy's favorite, Allen Robinson, who couldn't make the Giants roster? Let's pour one out for previously one of the better wide receivers in football.
Yeah.
Getting cut.
What's your boy for the wide receiver clip? Allen Robinson.
Wide receiver 6, wide receiver 7, wide receiver 9. This guy was unbelievable for his stretch. So salut, Allen Robinson, but it is so Jover for you. Thank you for all of your contributions. Now, look, we said hot takes. This does not mean we're just pulling takes and just shouting them into the moon. There should be some truth behind these that we actually feel a little bit convinced can happen. So that's what we're going to do. Chris M from DFF is linking a tweet for the full thing. I think most of us have seen that. You can go check that out. Shout out Barry. Tom, what are you doing right now? There's a mirror order to cut. I'm busy, Barry. I'm never coming back to the shop. Don't ever text me to ask me to come back to the shop again. No, thank you. Just, yeah, a lot of fun stuff with the comments. We love all you guys. Make sure you're hitting that sub button. We're 100 away from 10,000. That is a huge milestone for us. Shout out to all you guys. If you're not subbed already, head over there and do that. I want to just quickly shout out Leebs from the Fantasy Points Discord. Said, didn't Ryan already give his hot take with his iced coffee take? And you're right. The real ones already knew that.
Episode.
He's not here. He didn't want to face.
He already gave his hot take.
He didn't want to face the music is really what it is. I do, however, have his hot takes, even though Ryan's not here. We're actually going to start with one of his as
Where's
soon. Ryan is busy with ass. The new metric at Fantasy Points. He is writing an ass article that does not feature Megan Thee Stallion.
Seconds every time.
Right.
Graph that. Like, I was just picturing Ryan just going nuts out on the town.
Just at a strip club.
He's just like, man, I won 5 for 5 the first time a couple weeks ago. He's like the rainmaker out there.
Oh, shout out Ryan, man.
Give me that ass.
Give me that ass, baby. Yeah, please, Scott. Please keep it ass. Like, it's got to be that you're just printing money with the ass metric, the average separation
babe, what are you
score.
up to tonight? I'm working on some ass.
I'm just studying ass, like every nerd does. I got ass in the spreadsheets. You know what I mean? We could actually confirm now. That is the average separation score that we'll be releasing soon. I'll give Ryan his due for his hot take, and then we'll roll it as soon as Lucas collects himself here. We're going to go with Drake Maye averages more rushing attempts per game than Josh Allen, which I think is actually not bad. I mean, over a 10% scramble rate from Drake Maye in the preseason. That offensive line is
Drake Maye we hear tonight. That's for sure.
No, it won't be. I didn't think it would be, but he's gonna have to run for his life because that offensive line is one of the worst we've seen. So Ryan Heath, Drake Maye averages more rushing attempts per game than Josh Allen. He's not here to defend it. So here we go. Josh Kuhn said an ass and spreadsheet is risky. Hey, we gotta, if you're not risking it for the game, do you really love the game? Sean says, I always was an ass man. There we go.
When you blow up Sean Jeffers, very professional headshot there.
I always was an ass man.
It's just I always was an ass. It's that looks like it's his LinkedIn update.
He's in finance. He's in finance for sure.
Sean Jeffers just shared on LinkedIn that he was always an ass man.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He's, got high paying clients. You got to take them out for a night on the town.
Quick. This is
Lucas may not make it for the duration of this program. He needs a minute. Jacob,
the last 2 minutes are substantially better for the video viewers than the audio viewers.
Yeah, right.
To the audio listeners, you're not getting service right now.
Lucas right now is absolutely dying. I think we've lost him as he's just crying at the moment. But
after we've established that the national vice president of Citibank prefers the dump truck, we will now get back to the bold predictions.
Not just dump truck. He doesn't just deal with trucks dumping a pile of money at the door. He's all about the.
He's on Sydney Sweeney's Instagram right now.
Right now, absolutely. Yeah. Just waiting for that next update. All right, Jacob. Let's do the next hot take.
All right. Well, let's just screw it. I was gonna go quarterback first. I didn't know Ryan had also done a Drake Maye one, but I guess that checks out for the Patriots fan.
And you always get into the show sheet last. Yeah,
exactly. All of these are takes I don't actually think are gonna happen, but I think that are directionally accurate, and I'm hoping maybe we go 1 for 4. Drake Maye starts by week 5 or earlier and finishes top 2 among rookie quarterbacks in fantasy points per game. He had higher scramble rates, higher rushing goal line rates than Caleb Williams in college, already shown an ability in the preseason to be a scrambler, to be a deep passer in a really impressive way. I thought he's looked really impressive this whole preseason. I still think Jacoby Brissett gets the ceremonial week 1 start. But I think Drake Maye's at least up to 20 or 30% to draw that start now, when he might have been 2% a couple weeks ago. And I do think the timeline has moved up significantly, where when your coach is going out and saying, I don't know who I'm going to start, but Drake Maye's been better, it's really hard if Jacoby Brissett goes out there and gets slaughtered to keep starting him into week 8, week 9, week 10 and look like you have any idea what you're doing. Other thing that I've been impressed by is I think that the offensive line looks terrible in New England. There's just no way around it. But
it's bad.
I've been impressed by what I've seen from Jalen Polk. I thought he's shown some juice after the catch. I've been impressed by what I've seen so far. Very limited dosage, but from Demario Douglas as well. I think you can develop a rapport with those two guys. And obviously, I'm just completely in the bag for Maye. And at the same time, I'm a little bit scared of what's happening with this Washington offense. They move on from Jahan Dotson. Fair enough. He hasn't been overly impressive. But from the sounds of it, it's not like Luke McCaffrey has blown them away in camp and is immediately the wide receiver 2. Presumably, they're rolling out some ridiculous mishmash of Olamide Zaccheaus and De'Ami Brown and a bunch of goobers. And Cliff Kingsbury is up to his old bullshit, right? He's starting Terry McLaurin, left outside wide receiver, 100% of the snaps, just taking on the brunt of the coverage for an offense with only one good receiver. I think it's a little bit scary. So I'm going to say that Drake Maye, not only the long-term dynasty QB2 in this class, but starts by week 5 and has a higher points per game than Mr. J.
Okay. Well, that is pretty hot takey. I don't mind that at all. I'll go with mine next. I think Bo Nix finishes with 17 points per game and is a top 15 quarterback on the season. Check it out. In this offense, Russell Wilson was 0.3 points per game better than Jared Goff from week 10 to the end of the season. He was also better than CJ Stroud in that time. Funny enough, he was 0.02 points below Justin Fields over that same stretch. If you take the whole season, and this is one of my favorite stats, Russ Wilson was 0.6 points per game worse than Patrick Mahomes last year. He was also better than Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, and Matthew Stafford in points per game. Sean Payton's quarterbacks fucking cook. Nix has shown that not only does he run every time he wants to throw the ball because he cannot set his feet, but he is mobile and can provide a rushing upside if they let him run towards the goal line. I 100% believe that this man can return a 16 to 17 point per game season, which last year would have made him QB 15. So I believe that Bo Nix returns on investment as the easiest early round 2 super flex rookie pick and one of my late round QB hero flag plants that I make every year. And he provides you at least Derek Carr level points per game, which is huge. That's my hot take. Bo Nix will not be ass. He will be quite good at 17 points per game, QB 15. Have at her. There you go. There you go, Lucas. Some positivity for your Broncos. Let's get that hot take.
All right, I love positivity for my Broncos. So my hot take, I'll stick with the quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson will not be a top 25 quarterback by the end of the season. So he has had pretty much the exact same stat line, even though he has missed games the last 2 seasons. It's almost mirror images of each other, averaging 15.1 fantasy points per game. And I don't think the Browns have done enough to elevate the weapons around him. Sorry, Jerry Jeudy. You were once my hero. Now you're the bane of my existence. But we move on from that. But I also don't think that he's doing enough to elevate his game, and the Browns are good enough on defense. They have a solid enough run game that they aren't going to have to lean on him to play hero ball and make some plays. So I think that his value will continue to go down, and he will be one of the more disappointing quarterbacks in 2024.
Outside of the top 25, I actually like that. I think that's actually really good. Yeah, that's solid. I like it. I like it. It's a hot take. Let's go with the next one for Ryan, who's also not here to defend himself. Jaleel McLaughlin leads the backfield in fantasy points per game, but no Denver running back averages more than 12 fantasy points per game in PPR. So both Denver running backs bad. Jaleel the best. I know you're all about the Javonte.
I mean, I like Jaleel too. I love them all. So the second part of that is really angry. I thought I was thinking about doing a like 2 Denver running backs at the top 15 take or something. So
is this like a side bet that I'm gonna make Ryan, who's not here to defend himself, just make him agree to without him knowing about it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would bet on if Ryan wants to make a Javonte Williams bet with me.
Okay, there we go. We'll do 12 points per game for Javonte or Jaleel. There we go. That's the bet. Ryan, I just want you to know that I signed off on that for you. Yeah. And you'll receive that contract in the mail, buddy.
Look at Jacob try to go 2 for 2 on bets. Live bets on the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did the Fields Russ one, so I mean, we might as well add another one with Ryan here. He already beat your ass in the Caleb one last year.
So right. What was the Fields Russ one? Was that the
that Russ is going to play more games?
Who starts more games?
Yeah, I have Russ. Yeah.
Okay.
Without injuries being involved. Was the second part of that. All right, Jacob, hit me with your next one.
Absolutely. My next one is, and look, we're going bold here, so maybe
bold.
I got to hope best for 2 out of 3. But 3 quote-unquote backup running backs, Jaylen Warren, Tyjae Spears, and this is the boldest one, Bucky Irving, all lead their backfields in points per game in 2024.
Wow.
Jaylen Warren last year was truly, and I don't mean this hyperbolically, one of the best running backs in the National Football League on the opportunities that he was given. Was top 3 in yards after contact per attempt, was top 3 in missed tackles forced per attempt, was top 3 in rush yards over expectation per attempt. You look at any stat, you're going to find Christian McCaffrey, Devone Achane, you're going to find Jaylen Warren right in there with them. goes into this fantastic Arthur Smith rushing environment where the only players you want to be targeting are the running backs. And I'm pretty into both Steelers running backs this year. But if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick the dude who already closed this to get toward a 50-50 snap share last year and is now elevating into that year 3 where he's already established himself as an NFL player. This is where I think you start to see him take off and separate himself even more. I'm expecting to see a borderline 50-50 rushing split by the middle of this year, and Warren will continue to operate primarily in the passing game where he has a big edge over Najee Harris. Tyjae Spears, Tony Pollard, I wrote about this split a lot in my most recent Thinking post after everybody got really hot and bothered over Tony Pollard's drive happening to last longer than Tyjae Spears' drive. I mean, look, anyone who's followed me for a long time knows that I have a lot of love in my heart for Tony Pollard. I have a Tony Pollard jersey sitting in my room 20 feet away. It's hard to know exactly why his play fell off so much last year. You could blame age. You could blame the injury. You could blame getting more volume. It's probably a combination of those different things. But all of the signals we've got from the Titans is that they're going to play these guys close to equally, and they're going to play them interchangeably in terms of they all get goal line work, they all get receiving work, they all get play on all different downs. That's what we've seen in the preseason so far, is them both working in all situations indiscriminately. And if I have to pick one, and my choice is between the guy who used to be great, had a big down year, and I have to hope that it was all because of the injury and that he's now perfectly healthy, or the rookie who's the young player who came in, was really efficient last year on a per-touch basis in a bad offensive environment, I'm just going to pick on the ascending player instead of trying to make the excuses for the veteran player. I think Pierce outscores him straight up. And the last one is the one that really makes it a hot take, where I wouldn't actually bet my money on this happening at even odds. But Rachaad White was last year, once again, one of the least efficient rushers in the NFL. His value comes on an NFL field via the receiving game. Bucky Irving does exactly what Rachaad White does not do in the backfield, which is he's decisive, he reads the field quickly, and he gets upfield. Rachaad White continues to be, frankly, shallow and pedantic in the backfield.
Yeah.
He gets the ball, he looks around, he reads what's going on. Before he's able to get upfield, he gets tackled from behind. Doesn't often use his explosiveness as a runner. I think over the course of this year, Bucky gets scaled up and scaled up and scaled up. And by the time that we're in the late season, he's the guy who's actually leading this backfield in carries. I think White still has a lot to do in the passing game and can provide some value for a team, but I think he's going to wind up being overdrafted. I think Bucky Irving is one of the biggest targets you can have. That's my second hot take at the running back position.
I love that. Nick Fury wants to know, Najee Harris used to be great, question mark?
That was in reference to the Titans backfield and to Tony Pollard.
I love that. Love that. Someone said, Sean said, hey, he caught 16 passes from dead arm, Big Ben one time.
That's true.
Yeah, no, I don't mind those. I hope that the Rachaad White thing is real because I don't have a lot of him in a lot of places. So that one might be the hottest one we've gotten from you. I'll go with my running back take. I think Alvin Kamara finishes as a top 3 running back this season. I feel like he's closer to number 1 than number 3. I'll tell you why. If you look at the New Orleans Saints offense, their number 2 receiver is almost non-existent at this point. Shaheed hurt again. A.T. Perry may never see the field if Dennis Allen allows it. And we know that this man does nothing but catch passes. 75 receptions last year on 86 targets. The first time he comes back, he gets 15 targets in that first game. The second he lets him step on the field. Keep in mind that he didn't play the first 3 weeks as he had 14 targets, 13 receptions. Multiple games where he was used like that. Obviously, his receiving work is what makes him his money. The difference is going to come in touchdowns. If we look at his 2020 season, 2020 season where he was the RB1, he only had 187 rushing attempts, but he scored 16 rushing touchdowns. He had 107 targets, caught 83 passes for 756 yards. I do not think the touchdown is going to be there. So that might be the struggle. But for me, if he plays 17 games, which is a stretch to begin with running backs, but injuries weren't really what slowed him down last year. And he gets those receptions because Derek Carr is afraid to throw the ball past the line of scrimmage and to anyone else not named Chris Olave. And maybe Taysom Hill doesn't vulture all of his touchdowns. I think of all the veteran running backs on this offense with his workload that we know that he can do and his pass catching, I think Alvin Kamara finishes as a top 3 running back by the end of the year. Period. He is the best value for vet running backs, easy to acquire in leagues right now for reasonable prices. He's a smash this year. He's going to do it. That's my hot take.
I mean, I can definitely see that world, which is scary, but I don't know if I would go as high as top 3. That is what I guess makes it hot.
Look, there are some situations that need to happen, right? Some players need to not finish the year. I get it. But this is the NFL, man. I think if he plays all 17 games, catches 80 passes, scores, 15 total touchdowns, which I think he's good enough, he makes it happen.
I mean, it's plausible because he literally was a top 3 running back in points per game last year. But he is so unbelievably cooked, and yet, like, I don't know what else they're gonna do. Like, I think
that's what I mean.
Just gonna keep throwing him. Like, he's at least early season. I don't know if this sustains the entire season because he looked so bad by the end of last year. But early season, there's gonna be some like Alvin Kamara posts, 8 carries for 21 yards. 9 catches for 26 yards and 1 touchdown weeks where you watched him the whole game. He looks absolutely rancid and he has 21 points.
Yeah, see, Nick Fear says 15 players need to not finish the year. I don't think that's the case, man. If he would have played those first 3 games. He was literally
top 3 running back last year. I'm like, couldn't be more out on Kamara because I don't like drafting bad players, but Tom's take is like very plausibly projectable.
Right. If he would have played those first 3 games, he would have continued his stretch of 81 catches minimum, except for 2022 and 2021 where he was banged up, where he only caught 47 and 57 catches. But before that, it was 81, 81, 81, 83. This dude does nothing but finish as a top 12 back, 3, 4, 9, 1, 8. There's 16, but then there's 11. This guy's going to catch passes. He just needs a couple of touchdowns, baby. Like, Kamara's going to outscore Barkley this year. I don't know what I wanted to tell you, but the people that are super stoked about Saquon Barkley, he's not catching 90 passes in Philly, and Jalen Hurts is still going to run in 13 to 14 touchdowns this year. Give me Kamara, period. Top 3 back all day. This is how we're doing it. You can give me that face all you want, Jacob.
Go put on the helmet.
Oh,
all right. As Tom's putting on his helmet, I'll go into my hot take. So my running back hot take is that Chase Brown will be the most traded player at our fantasy football trade deadlines this season. Absolutely love that, Tom. That is fantastic. With the signature. But Chase Brown finished out the season relatively strong, didn't have the touchdown numbers that you're wanting, but he was getting work as a receiver out of the backfield. He was posting decent per rush numbers. Joe Mixon's gone. They have brought in Zach Moss, but I don't see Zach Moss as that workhorse. I think that he's going to get a good workload. And with that, it will raise his value up enough to where people who are in the thick of a playoff hunt are going to be trading their seconds or a second and a third to acquire his services for their playoff teams. And rebuilding managers are going to say, thank you very much. I will take that second in a running back heavy draft and use that for future players. So that is my running back hot take.
Okay. I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. Barry says, I'll trade you kid number 3 for that helmet. No, kid number 3 is a nightmare. I'm keeping the helmet. Nick Fury says, lol the helmet. I bought this helmet because Alvin Kamara won me my first ever Dynasty title in the home league. So it has been on my wall ever since. AK outscoring JT. JT's not going to catch the passes people want him to, man. I'm telling you. It's going to come down to the pass catching. This dude's getting 100 targets this year, period.
If this hot take comes true, I'm retiring from PPR fantasy leagues.
There we go. That's what's up.
I'm joining the standard movement.
He's going back to 1970s. Look, we gotta take another break.
When PPR, PPR could be banned if Mike Pence has the courage.
We're going to take our second break. When we come back, we're going to get the wide receiver and the tight end hot takes. So sit tight for more. I got to put this hat back on. Hair's doing some weird stuff today. Look, you dominate your home, office, and family leagues. Now it is time to take your game to the next level. The FFPC is the place to play fantasy football this summer. No salary caps, no DFS, no new formats to learn. Just the pure drafting fun that you've always loved. FFPC is home to multiple $1 million grand prizes, massive best ball tournaments, competitive dynasty leagues, and a multitude of exclusive formats. Drafts are filling every single day at myffpc.com. Begin your pursuit of millions today at myffpc.com.
I don't know if that was the reference that Josh was making, because he was saying little Giants kid, but his next comment was, I can't see out this thing. And that just reminds me of the funniest scene in movie history, which is, of course, the Django Unchained Ku Klux Klan scene.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, yeah. That is, shout out Jonah Hill for giving us that.
Out of these things.
That
wife
is
worked really hard on these men.
Hey, as Toronto Dave would say, that's cinema.
This time, no masks. But next time, we wear the mask.
Sean said he's ready to run the annexation of Puerto Rico. Jesus Christ.
All right.
Phenomenal. All right, let's kick this off. Let's do tight ends, because they can sometimes be looked at as the most boring. I'll once again look at Ryan Heath's hot take, because he can't defend himself as he studies ass.
Is he in on Dalton Kincaid this week or out on Dalton Kincaid this week?
He does not have Dalton Kincaid this week. Speaking of ass, we are talking about Jake Ferguson, who will be ass when that drops. Zach Ertz outscores Jake Ferguson in PPR this season.
Oh man,
I'm actually all about this, and I'll tell you why.
That's hot.
I'll tell you why. The last time Zach Ertz was relevant, before he lost his job to Trey McBride, it was with Cliff Kingsbury, who for some reason loves this dude. When Zach Ertz went to Arizona, he was left for dead, but all he did was produce. He was tight end 5 on 74 receptions in this Cliff Kingsbury offense. And when he came back from injury, again, 69 targets, 47 receptions, and 4 touchdowns. He was on pace again to be a top tier tight end option. I don't hate this take at all. I know the Ben Sinnott, these rookies and their names this year, I'm telling you, killing me. I butchered 3 names last week. I'm pretty sure I butchered that one too. But I agree. Zach Ertz here outscoring Turd Ferguson, as Brian Drake would say, in points per game this year. Hot take. I like it.
Does anyone want to guess? Trivia hour. When's the last time that Zach Ertz averaged 7 yards per target or more?
I'll say 2017.
That's not a high number, by the way. Like the average per throw for most quarterbacks
I'll say 2017.
Ooh, I don't want Price's right him. I'm going to go with 2015.
Tom wins. It was 2018. That was his best season. He had, listen to this stat line, by the way. Zach Ertz, 2018, had 156 targets, 116 catches for 1,163 yards. Insane stat line. Last year, Zach Ertz had an absolutely hilarious 4.3 yards per target. So he's basically like a inefficient receiving running back at this point.
But in this offense with Cliff, man,
that's of what happens, man. Like, Cliff Kingsbury,
and like you said,
can't apply rational coaching to Cliff Kingsbury. He's a complete.
They have no
goofball.
wide receiver too. It's just gonna be Zach Ertz. Ben Sinnott's gonna play the H-back role.
That leads to
Zach
my
Ertz.
hot take.
Hit me with it.
Zach Ertz in a tight end premium dynasty league where I had some injury issues, and I was like looking at my roster, and I was like, okay, I know back in March it seemed like a cool idea to have Dontavian Wicks as a starter, but it doesn't seem so cool anymore. And then I looked, I was like, what's up there on the waiver wire? And I was like, Zach Ertz's dusty ass is out there. And you know what? When he has 7 catches for 21 yards, that's 12.6 tight end premium PPR points.
Exactly.
I'll take those 7 catches for 21 yards.
That's
I don't know how long
exactly
he's going to keep it up this season, but I guarantee you that we're going to get at least a month of people being really annoyed about Zach Ertz's usage because it's going to be egregious.
All he needs is a couple of touchdowns. Like if he gets 4 or 5 touchdowns in this offense, that's top 10. Like if he catches 50 passes and gets 480 yards on 55 receptions and like 5 touchdowns, I think he outscores Jake Ferguson. I'm right there. I'm right there with Ryan on this. As we're gonna call this possible. That's how we should have been grading them. We're grading this as possible. That's what this one. Let's get another tight end hot take.
Hey, this leads right into my hot take.
Let's go.
That is that Ben Sinnott is going to be a top 12 tight end over the last 6 weeks of the season, and he is going to help win people leagues.
Interesting.
So you outlined that Cliff Kingsbury, he has supported tight end once in the past in that offense. Bring in here, and I'm sorry, it's very fun to make fun of Zach Ertz and what he can do now. But Ben Sinnott is a way better athlete already, and he is going to fit into this offense perfectly as the season goes on. They've already been using him down the field. He is not an H-back. I'm going to make that very clear. He is an actual tight end that they are going to use in so many ways because they already got rid of freaking, I can't even remember his name anymore because he's going to be irrelevant on the Philadelphia Eagles for the rest of time. So Ben Sinnott, put it down now. That is the tight end that you want at the end of the season. He will be a top 12 tight end.
Interesting. All right. I think that we'll call that
one opportunity.
We'll call that lukewarm for Lucas.
I think both of those
says
happen.
That's not a hot take. It's just fact.
Those could both be true because Zach Ertz is going to play the first 7 weeks. He's going to have a 91% snap rate. He's going to have 4.1 yards per target, but he's going to have a 26% target share. So he's going to do that. Then he's going to just like get old and die. So he's going to, his points per game will be frozen after 7 weeks, but they'll be higher than Jake Ferguson's. And then Ben Sinnott's going to come in and do the Trey McBride down the stretch. That's all going to happen.
I love it.
Thank you for Dotson on there. We mentioned Allen Robinson, and I got stuck on Penn State wide receivers. I was like, I know it's not Robinson. I can't say Allen Robinson, even if I am.
Not the only Penn State wide receiver who got cut today.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Hamler Index. The guy.
Pour one out. All right,
I'm gonna Marvin Mims is there.
He lives on through Marvin Mims every day.
Yep. And next, soon to be Troy Franklin when Marvin Mims is traded next year. All right, I'm gonna go tight end here. I battled with 2. I struggled with 2 because Parham getting cut today led me to realize Hayden Hurst is like the only tight end option that Greg Roman has right now, and a tight end in Greg Roman's offense might be the most valuable receiving weapon that they have. So I debated going Hayden Hurst top 10, but I'm gonna go back to another New Orleans Saint here. I'm going to say Taysom Hill is a top 8 tight end by the end of the season. Check this out. 65% of this.
That's not hot. That is a median fucking take right there.
Just check it out. People really disagree here. Taysom Hill, 65% of preseason snaps with the starters, multiple snaps at running back, fullback, tight end, slot, and he was playing outside. Only exceeded 50% of the snaps twice last year, 40% full season snap share. He still finished as the tight end 15. He was the 4th most efficient tight end in the NFL last year on a per snap basis. Would have been tight end 6 last year on a 65% snap share. This dude is going to finish top 8. That's not George Kittle. That's not Jake Ferguson. That's not whatever. TJ Hawkinson when he comes back. Points per game and total finish. This guy's a league winner at tight end 8. Period. It's not going to be your favorite sleeper tight end. It's not going to be Tyler Conklin. It's not, again, like if this dude outscores George Kittle next year, I'm going to be like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, Taysom Hill's just legitimately.
It's not a yearly thing, though. He's not top 8. Like he was tight end 15 last year.
He's always a lot better than you think. I mean, the thing with Taysom Hill that makes him scary is like the distribution of points with Hill is funky, where it's like he's going to have like 1 point, then he'll have 4 points, then you'll have 3 points, then you'll have 39 points.
I know this
but
is
like
his
it all
year,
comes out
though.
in the wash, right? Like that's the thing. If you have Hill, he's the only tight end other than the actual elite tight ends who has like 30-point upside.
Look, if tight end 8's not good enough, I'll give you 6. How about that? I'll give you 6.
Yeah,
You can outscore Dalton Kincaid. How about that? There you go. There you go. Is that hot takey enough? I bet he outscores Dalton Kincaid, Mr. Luke Musgrave out there. I think this is his year, but for receiving, I think he's going to set highs in everything. More rushing than I want him with my Alvin Kamara take, but let's be real. If he's lining up outside in the slot, fullback, tailback, tight end, we know he's going to throw a few passes. Let's do it. Top 6, right? Taysom Hill. I'll adjust my hot take.
All right. Taysom Hill. My tight end hot take. This is probably the most lukewarm take, but he's just been my guy in this program all season, going back to the offseason, is that when we do drafts this time next year, Brock Bowers will be the overall Dynasty tight end 1. I'm not sure exactly how the whole production is going to go at the very start of the year. I do expect the surroundings to attempt to bring him down to the depths as much as they possibly can. But I do think at tight end, it is at least a position where even if an offense is not super functional, those tight end routes are available. And I think the fun thing with Bowers, unlike a Pitts that I've been stressing this whole offseason, is he is a little bit more of a traditional tight end. You also merge that with how the Raiders have tried to plan all of these scripted plays around him out of the backfield, and potentially some stuff at the goal line. It's all very exciting to me. Obviously, I'm very high on the talent of Brock Bowers. I think he shows enough and he performs enough down the stretch that he ends up being clearly the tight end 1 overall in fantasy football that everybody gets very excited about in Dynasty and elsewhere in the 2020. Actually, I'll go even one hot take further. Not only is he tight end 1 overall in Dynasty next offseason, he's also the tight end overall in redraft ADP next offseason.
Oh, that got way hotter. Whew.
I'm not saying he's going to be the tight end overall this year, but I'm saying next season's ADP, he'll be the tight end 1 overall.
That got pretty spicy.
That got pretty hot pretty quick. I liked it, though.
I'm going to throw one thing out here just into the ether because I don't want it to happen, but it was so close to being my tight end hot take. And that, oh my gosh. Wow, I have lost all sorts of.
You set yourself up there just to like.
Sam Laporta will not be a top 6 tight end this season. That is my hot take. Right. I don't want it to happen, but I do see a universe where that is way too real.
So we found out today that Lucas is fired. He'll no longer be at Fantasy Points.
Boy.
From here forward, you're fired. Don't come back.
I'm not going after Trey McBride though. I know who really holds your heart.
It's true. Right. You're right. You're rehired. You're not fired.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the team. Last break, and we're gonna finish this off with wide receivers. I think I have one that is gonna trigger Jakob for our first real rant today, and kind of go against everything this show was built on. So sit tight for that if my Taysom Hill wasn't hot enough. I was just setting you guys up. It's called a teaser, okay, because we're professionals here that don't just talk about ass.
I think teaser is actually at the bar in Winnipeg that Ryan's at tonight.
Well played. Well played.
Brad
Shout out for real. Little Canadian joke for everybody. Someone
in the comments
other people
predicted your take here.
Which one? Yeah. Well, I mean, he's on the thumbnail, so.
Okay.
And by the way, can I just point out this is a sick thumbnail. Like I put in work
thought
here.
The thumbnail was Jahmyr Gibbs. they have the same hair and the same uniform.
I mean, look at the number, baby. Come on now. Okay, we gotta get Ryan's out of the way because he's not here to defend himself. Devone Achane averages under 12 rushing attempts per game, but finishes the top 5 RB by also operating as Miami's 3rd wide receiver. So that is Ryan's next hot take. Don't know if that's hot takey, but he is he is gonna be the Dolphins, third wide receiver. I mean, shout out. They got no one else. Everyone else is dusty. Odell Beckham Jr. is on the fast track to the Will Fuller retirement program. Mysterious injury and just never playing again. Let's be real. All right, let's get wide receiver hot takes. I'll go to Jakob next.
All right. This is kind of a fake wide receiver hot take because it's mostly a quarterback hot take, to be entirely honest. But all 3 Houston Texans wide receivers finished top 12 at the position in the year that CJ Stroud sets the all-time passing yardage record. Let's walk back to the last time that we had one of these true record-breaking seasons. I've been saying all since mid-last season that we had Peyton Manning reincarnated back in our lives on the 2013 Denver Broncos. Remember, Peyton only had 16 games to do this. Demaryius Thomas had 92 catches for 1,430 yards and 14 touchdowns. Eric Decker goes 87 for 1,288 and 11 touchdowns. Those were both top 12 wide receivers. Wes Welker finishes as the wide receiver 17 with 73, 778, and 10. But that's because Julius Thomas winds up finishing as the tight end 3 with 65, 788, and 12. Even Noshawn Moreno got in on the fun with 60 catches himself. The beauty of the Texans spot is they don't have the Julius Thomas. I don't think Dalton Schultz is going to be finishing as tight end 3 this year. So I'm going to move their third wide receiver up just a little bit from wide receiver 17 up to wide receiver 12. This is one of the rare chances we get to see, in my opinion, the best wide receiver group in the NFL playing with the greatest quarterback in the NFL. And that's going to be the view that we all have about CJ Stroud at the end of this year, once he wins the MVP, sets the all-time passing yardage record, and of course wins the Super Bowl. And so we're going to see Diggs, Dell, and Collins, whether you like the little guy, the big guy, the old guy, everybody's going to get to win on the Houston Texans wide receivers, as long as you tear down into a Houston Texan wide receiver.
Nick Fury says CJ Stroud will become the first active player to get voted into the Hall of Fame. Really what Jakob is doing is just projecting his former love of Andrew Luck in division with what he wanted from him into CJ Stroud. That is hot. That is hot. I don't see it happening, but by God, man, you picked a real good one. Lucas, let's go with yours.
All right. Ending on a little bit of a sour note here, but Joshua Palmer is going to be the most frustrating wide receiver in fantasy football this season. And
Some have
so
said
much
he's
of
breaking out. Some have said.
Could be a breakout, but I don't know how much like 11 points a game will be a breakout to fantasy managers whenever it's just like it's there. It's fine. You're okay having it in your lineup, but whenever it's capped at 11 points per game, you're not necessarily happy with it either. So he is going to be taking away from Ladd McConkey. It's going to make everybody really sad. He's not going to be getting touchdowns, which is also going to be making everybody sad. The running backs are the ones that are going to be sniping it. And Justin Herbert, he'll have some nice plays with him, but Justin Herbert won't be getting any touchdowns. And it's just going to be an overall frustrating experience watching the Chargers. And you see how close they are to potentially having like something fun. But it's a Greg Roman offense. So, you know, you're just signing up for pain.
Yeah. I agree. Nick Fury, Lucas with the perfect Josh Palmer definition. He's there. It's fine. It's true. Yeah, I think the Josh Palmer thing is insane. And I have a potential bet going with somebody who disagreed with me here. We're going to end on this hot take right here. Jameson Williams breaks out this year. And I want to be very careful with how I define breakout because it's kind of cherry picked a little bit for my safety with how much I have trashed this man openly on every podcast I've ever been on. But hear me out. I have Jameson Williams breaks out with a 12.5 to 13 point per game season. Now you might be saying, Tom, that's not a breakout. When you're considering that his previous production was nothing, I think 13 points per game boosts this guy's value way back up into the 6th round of startups next year. Hear me out. 12.5 points per game would have put him ahead of T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Christian Watson, Drake London, Scary Terry, and Chris Godwin, and only 0.2 points per game behind Garrett Wilson in 2023. The Lions cut Donovan Peoples-Jones and have yet to add another significant option to the receiving core. We did mention Tim Patrick, but who knows with him. If it's going to happen, okay, if for any reason Jameson Williams is going to be a thing, and Brian Ford, if you're listening, I want to make sure that you hear, right, to make sure that you're hearing what I'm, don't hear what I'm not saying. And I'm not saying that he is going to be a wide receiver one. The thumbnail, I lied to you a little bit. I'm not going to go wide receiver one. That's absolute crazy town. Okay, it's going to be like 16 points per game. I don't think that's happening. But I think 12.5 points per game is going to make people go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs one more time. I think if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And since we never do hot takes on this program, I will say that Jameson Williams finally breaks out to 12.5 points per game in 2023. While the Lions finish as the number one offense in football in 2024. There you go. There's my hot take. We're ending it on that. Bringing the knowledge. I mean, hey, we got to have, I can't just make we don't do hot takes. Okay. We don't do hot takes on this program. We don't do player takes. So when we do it, we got to have something, you know what I mean?
Can I give an ask to the chat? That's to be clear, an ask, not an ask to the chat.
Right. Let's not
we had
give ask to the chat.
We had discussed next week doing our fantasy superlatives. So, things like fantasy MVP, biggest bust, all that kind of stuff. Biggest breakout, whatever. Best
we've done the thumbnail carousel. Yeah.
So if anyone in the chat has some that they want to recommend, why don't we pick, like, people submit them on Twitter or in the Discord or whatever. Why don't we take like the 2 funniest suggestions from the people, and that we can add to our list of superlatives to go through tomorrow.
Do we need a description with it, or can we interpret it however we want?
Leave a description if you want. Next week we're going to do superlatives. Let's give us a description. You can leave a comment if you're listening on Spotify. You can leave a comment. We will see your comments. We'll be able to get it from there. You can post. Ideally, you post a comment here on YouTube when the show is over. Which ones you want to see next year? Whether it's fantasy MVP, whatever weird ones you guys want to. Who's going to have the most ass by the end of the year? Whatever you guys want to do. We'll get to them. 2 funniest ones. You can tag us on Twitter, or you can tag us in the Discord as per usual. But we are going to do 2 of the ones that you guys want. We're also giving away a data suite next week, and we have some other fun giveaways ahead. We are going to give away a subscription. We're Fantasy Point subscription. We are giving away a data suite, and we're going to handpick 2 suggestions from you guys and give you guys a shout out. So let's do that. I love that. I love that. Dollar General squirt gun from Nick Fury. I love that. That's absolutely hilarious. I like Ferris's hot take here. Ferris, I'm going to butcher your last name, dude. I've known you for years now, and I've never known your last name. So it's Gansman. Hopefully I didn't fuck that up. Hot take. Jalen McMillan is this year's Jaden Reed. Will see the biggest ADP jump from the rookie wide receivers drafted. I like that one. I'm a big McMillan guy. Hey, also shout out Ray Davis. Ray Davis looking good.
Oh yeah,
so far. I'm going to stand by my statement that I think he's a better running back than James Cook. I still just don't think he's going to get the opportunity to be. But hell of a show. It wasn't 2 hours long. We got most of it. Look for Jacob's next Dynasty 101 video. His other is posted on the channel. If you haven't watched it already, do that. The man is putting in overtime for more Dynasty theory here on this channel. You're going to see more Lucas Gilbert with some tools that we got coming to the website, some warp. It's going to be a good time. We're adding to that the Dynasty Discord. If you're not in there already, go to fantasypoints.com and sign up. It is absolutely popping in there on a daily basis as we ramp up in there. I can't even keep up with half of you guys. It is absolutely crazy. We have more mods than we've ever had before answering questions. Buck is in there talking his trash. Just a great time. This is the best time of the year. It really does all come down to this. Let's get some final thoughts from the panel here and let them know what Jacob, you just released something for thinking about thinking. Let's get some final thoughts and get out of here.
Yeah, man. I just did my updated redraft rankings just today. Talked about all the different changes I made. We moved Jaleel McLaughlin way up. We moved Kamani Vidal way back up. A few other changes. Kind of got out of best ball brain and finally, necessarily moved down a lot of these receivers that don't matter nearly as much in redraft that I kind of left up there. At some point before we get kickoff, I will have fully updated Dynasty rankings, but it's going to be a little bit more redraft focused, at least for the rest of this week. Up there, we're going to do a column with, I think, potentially some more bold predictions. Definitely going to have one on a perfect high stakes draft before this weekend concludes. Basically, whenever I get a chance to write over these next 2 weeks, I'll be writing something. I did one this weekend that is a nice big long column on the perfect running back room for every draft style. So I did a robust running back room. I did a 0 RB room. I did a hero RB room. And I could only pick every running back once. So wrote up a lot on each of those guys, went into a lot of detail on whether I like Breece more or Bijan, talked a lot about the Titans backfields, a lot of other stuff in there.
Love that, man. Thinking about thinking. If you're not subscribed, you're going to want to. Link is in the description. Get in there. Lucas, you're working on some fun stuff too. Let's preview it. What do you got?
Yeah, so I've got some very fun war stuff coming up. War should be coming back to Fantasy Points this season. Not only working on war projections for the season, but then also keeping track of it game by game. And we'll see. We might have some other interesting things coming along. It depends on how much time I want to spend doing late nights trying to program when I don't know how to program. So it's going to be really fun. It's going to be really interesting. Plus, college football is back. I am officially no longer defending Florida State in their season last year. I can't do it anymore after losing to Georgia Tech. So
I mean, hey, like Anand Dury said, we're in unprecedented times where Florida State not only skipped the last game of the year, they also decided they were skipping the first game of the year this year. So unprecedented times in college football, for sure. Looking forward to the war tool, man. I mean, after we had Iowa Mike on here from South Harmon talking about warp, you just went right to work. Now we're bringing it to the people. We're changing things. And my final take is this: we always have stuff happening at Fantasy Points. Like I said, we're so close to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. This has been a goal of ours to get there. When I first got here a year and a half ago, when we first showed up, we decided there's going to be a goal of ours. So shout out to everyone who subscribed, everyone checking in on the content, everyone providing content, from Paul Patterson and Pure Potential to Jakob here, to Lucas, to the whole team, Graham, Scott, everyone just really buckling in. We have another Dynasty content creator joining us. His first piece comes out, I believe, this week. You know him, Theo Granger, will be doing Dynasty articles and videos for us as well. That means you're going to get up to 2, 3, sometimes 4 Dynasty videos a week. What did I promise when I first got here? That more Dynasty content than ever before was going to come to Fantasy Points. And since I have gotten here, we have been making it our focus, the trade tier chart sheet. That is getting an update before kickoff. We had, like I said, 3 to 4 Dynasty videos. We are going to be uploading a bonus podcast to the Dynasty Points podcast channel, not just the Fantasy Points Now. Jacob's Dynasty 101 will also be released in podcast form as a bonus to you guys at the end of each week. I made good on my promise. I'm a man of my word. We're getting it done for you, and we are bringing Dynasty back from the fucking dead from fantasypoints.com. Because that's one of the main things you guys said when we asked what we could do better. That was it. We're coming through. I made the promise, and we're keeping it. So be locked in. The Dynasty channel right now in the Discord, still free. All you need is a free account to get in on there. If you're not already, it's insane. Hop in there. You're going to want to do it. I also want to remind everyone, this game is supposed to be fun. Let's bring it back to having a good time. Let's talk our trash. Let's talk our shit. But let's remember that there's people on the other side of those screens. Check in on your loved ones, even if you're not sure that they need it. Remember that clear eyes and full hearts can never lose in your best days. But goddamn, they're always spent tilting. Always a great time. We'll see you guys next week.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.